Chodaiva or Yaakov Chodaiva. Merav Chista. Rashi says Chodaiva Demin Chodayev, or from Chodayev. Yaakov from Chodayev asked Rav Chista, well, whose are they? Eitzim Shalmi. Whose are they? Amar Le, he said to him, Tani Suha. It's a Mishnah. Ein Rishash Seif Gittin. I think it's Seif Gittin. Maybe it's the middle of Gittin. Tani Suha. Oh, wait a minute. No. Wait, is this a Mishnah or not? I'm not sure, actually. Okay, I'm backtracking. Tanisua, Sharshe Elon Shalahed Yaidaban Bishal Hektish. If we have land of Hektish, holy land, and there is a tree owned by someone that's not the Mikdash, and the roots of the tree are in the Hektish side of things, one should not benefit from it, but it would not be the Issa Me'ila if they did. So that would show that if you're going to say we go by the tree, that would be why there's no me'ila. And I think we're saying, therefore, that the roots belong to the tree owner. If you're going to say that the guy who's digging the hole can keep it because it's in his land, why is it not me'ila? To which the Gemara shoots back, Elamai basar ilan azlinan. So what's your alternative? That we're going to go after the tree? Look at the second part of this. I think it's a Mishnah. Shall hektish abayim b'shal hedyait, if it belongs to the mikdash and the roots are going into the field of a guy, regular guy. But again, and you may not get benefit midarabana, but it's not going to be me'ila mida'iraisa. People say ila honestly, you've been trying to prove from here that you go by the tree, but it's hektish. Amai le'mayalin. Which the Gemara says, Midi area, is that at all a problem? Meaning, and that shows that this whole thing has nothing to do with it. Meaning this is not a rejoinder to the rejoinder. It's a rejoinder to the original attempted raya. Klemar mikula. Wow. Lav area he. Kula of raya he. Leila mishmamina basar ila, mishmamina basar karka. The time mishim danach sharashim gidul mabam nachash ok to sheila no vikal antar masachs meila. Ein mind we don't have to sharash mistay aktish. So this has nothing to do with anything because bigidul and abai and la'achar mikanaskina. We're talking about things that grew after it was hektish, and you could have a tree that's hektish in a field of hektish, but then new roots grew and maybe there's no meila in them. Because Savar and Maya land, and the Mishnah would simply hold that there's no me'ila in these things that grew. No, and the main chiddush is that you shouldn't try to get benefit. You shouldn't get benefit from it, period. And now we're up to the answer that had been brought in earlier on this Amud. Depends whether it's within 16 Amos or beyond that. Vina Amar, Loikasha, by Me'ila, Reisha, the Dani, Basar Ilan, is on the ratio, which says that if the tree is not Shal Hektish, then there's no me'ila. That's within 16 amas. That if it's a tree of hektish going all the way in, there's no me'ila. And I guess that would be the same thing for Va'itzim Shalai, I would think. Zak the Gemara weiter Ma'ula Ilana Samach Meta B'Shech Shesrei Ama Gazlan Ho, a tree within 16 amas of the boundary of the field is stealing. And if you grow first fruits on it, don't bring to the mikdash because it's not your land. Interesting how Rashi says Emevian means not that you may not, but you don't have to. Okay, interesting. Where did Ula get this from? And I think we might need to switch to visual. If you think maybe it's from this Mishnah, if you have 10 saplings, scattered within a base sa'a, an area enough to plant a sa'a. This is a kula about Tosefes Shvius. Shemitah is coming. There might be gzeres about not working the land even before Shemitah, but if you have 10 trees within the base saw, then you can continue plowing it the whole time. Okay. So now, Zokt Rashi, 10 of these saplings in a base saw. So they're evenly distributed. Rashash says, "V'kuloi tzarich lahem." They need it. Umot l'char shay erev shvius erev shana shal lachamish misinayu ubeisol chamish ma'am shachatzar mishkan kar beisosayim v'umeal chamish. Okay, yes, we are totally switching to visual here. Let's see. Boom ba-doom. Boom ba-doom. Okay, so what we're going to do over here, so the Chatzer of the Mishkan was 100 amos by 50 amos. And that is Sosayim. So if we take just half of that, now this is a base saw. And we're going to have 10 trees evenly distributed within this area of 50 by 50. So the Gemara says, is that where you get the 16 amma thing from? Kamahavulu, back in the Gemara, how much is that going to be? How much is that going to add up to? The entire base saw, Trey Alf and V'chamesh Mea Garmidi. The entire base saw is going to be, if it's 50 by 50, that's going to be 2,500 amos square. The way that Rashi does is kind of cheshbon. Rashi looks at it as if we're chopping it up into a bunch of strips, each one is an amma wide, and laying them end to end, and it's going to end up being 2,500 ammas long. Rashi is slicing it up into 50 strips. Each one is 1 amma wide and 50 long. Well, now chalekes on the Eser Ilanes, if you're going to divide that 2,500 up among the 10 trees, if you're going to end up with 250 amas, square amas for each tree. So, how much is each tree getting? And each tree is going to get 250 amas. That's not going to give you ula. Ula is giving you more than that. The Amar de Ilan Yoinik, Sheish Esrei Amal Lechotzar. Because Ula is saying, so what we're saying right now is that if you would be taking, right, so we're taking this area here, which is 50 by 50, and we're going to be putting 10 trees in it. So the amount that, what is the square root of 2,500? No, of 250. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm sort of cheating. All right. Oh, wow, this is very close. So how long is each side? 15.8 or so. And now this is going to be 1/10 of the big amount. So is that Ula? No, Rashi says, because if a tree goes 16 amos in each direction, then starting from the middle over here, let's say we do something which is, it's not going to be 16 by 16, it's going to be 32 by 32, because 16 all directions, and that's going to be way more for just one tree. So this year, Ula Novs, and we're dealing with Sheishes Re'am Alichotzad. Re'lam Beis Lam Beisa, Semian Ritzuach, Ashal Amarecha, Kasher Sisim Beisatim, Senashal Elef of Dalad Amma. Rashi says if you try to figure out the area of this, you're going to end up with 1,024. Yes, that's not going to work. The Gemara says, maybe this is where Ula's getting it from. The Gemara says, if you have 3 trees owned by 3 different people, and these are not netiyos, these are not saplings, these are trees. Those add up together, and you can plow the entire area of a 50 by 50 ames. Shalom Echad El Shel Shlosh Bnei Adam Mitzarfen Liyasad Stay Elon V'Lachar Shkol Beisav Shvil and Erev Shvius Adat Seres Then Stay Elon. So these are not saplings. That would be mutter until Rosh Hashanah with 10 of them. But because there's 3 trees, it's mutter to do it until Shavuos, as opposed to, I think, Pesach. V'im lav in Charshin Ella Kol Echad Kedei Tzarkar Then Utaktiv Chutz Leikim Le'Erev V'Salai. So if they're more spread out than that, then you can only plow under them, and the rest of it is considered to be like a wheat area, and you have to stop plowing Pesach time. Sorry, the mitzdarfen v'chashin kol beis sa'a b'shvilon chavzayin amid aleph now. The Gemara is like, well, adatzeres kama havulo. So how much is that 50 by 50 area? Again, it's 2,500 trei alfi v'hemei agarmidi. So therefore, the kol chad kama matile. How much is each tree going to get? We're saying if we're putting 3 trees into something which is 2,500 square ames. So what is 2,500 divided by 3? Some fraction. It's going to be time to make a plus of the plus of it till. So it's going to be 833 and a third. So Kuf Garmidi. Al Amaroicha, Kamamati Kochamin, Achilanis Tatlag Vitilsa, Katavision Lu, Shishu Sayama to Ula, Davi Elevich of Dalid. Okay, so what we're saying is that if you would take this 50 by 50, if you would take 50 by 50, which is 2,500, and you're going to be dividing that up into 3, So each one of them would be 833 and a third. Oh, too big. Yes, we're cheating. Okay, getting there. All right, this is very close to it. But Ula's amount is going to be bigger, as you can see when I try to put my square inside of that one. To which the Gemara says, Ula still more. But the Gemara answers, Leidak. He wasn't exact in his number. He didn't care about getting it exactly right. For the Gemara, whoa, we might say to be machmer, and we'll give a number which you'll end up being a little bit more machmer if you go by it. Lekula, do we say it as a kula? And what's the kula here? It's like Rashi. If Ula is saying that there's no obligation of bikurim based on the 16 amma thing, that Ula is going to say something as big as the smaller square in the middle here is going to be potter from bikurim. If the guy's tree is too close to the edge, if it's this a little bit, sorry. Ula's number is the outer square. Ula, because that is the 16 all directions. And Ula is saying if you're that close, you don't bring Bikurim. You don't need to. And really the guy would be Chayav because the shear is the smaller square. To which the Gemara answers, Misavris Biribuah Kamrina. And you think that Ula was talking about a square? Bi'igula Kamrinan. Ula was talking about a circular area around a tree. No, bigula ka amar. Shekol sevivav. Yonik sheishes revana bigula dilibri bu and imtza connected al lax and yoser misheishes reyam. All right, so here I'm going to move that square out of the way. Now we're going to take Ula's number, and we're going to say, hang on, I'm drawing a line down the middle just for aiming purposes. Here. So now, let's get rid of that line in the middle. So now we're saying that Ula's number is not a square. The tree in the middle has Yanika. The roots are going 16 amas in all directions with a circle, which is obviously less area than the square. And now the Gemara continues. So what's the area of that going to be? Pi r squared. How much is that square going to be more than the circle? A quarter. So now, out of our number of 1,024, Rashi is saying, remove a quarter of that number. And Pashulo Tash Sach Amma is Berechav Amma. All right, so now we're taking 1,024 and we are removing a quarter of that. Well, a quarter of 1,000 is going to be 750, and a quarter of 24 is going to be 6. That means we're taking away 256 from 1,024. Or another way to say it is, if we're taking 3/4 of it, so that means that we're going to be taking 750 and another 12, which would be 762. Nope, that was wrong. Let's try that again. 750. And out of 24, it would be 18. That would be 768. Okay, what's our number here? Rashi's saying Tafshin Samech Ches. Oh, yeah, that's good. Pashu Tafshin Samech Ches. Amma is another 768. And the numbers still don't add up perfectly. Tehashta, because now Pashu Shura Demas Nisen Ula Palga da Amsa. Now we're going to be off by a half amma, because what is this circle that we have over here? Here, I'm going to move it out so we can look at it by itself. 804.21. And I just want to ensure that we have the right radius. Yeah, 16. So our number here is 804.2, and the Gemara, working with a different way of calculating the area of a circle, is saying that it's going to be 768. And the shear that we're given for Bikurim is 834. I'm going to just try doing this like as the Gemara itself is doing it without getting into exact numbers for pi. It comes out that it says Ula is going to be a half amma more. Let's see how that plays out. This would be half amma more would give you 892 square amais, which is a little bit more than this. Let's just see how Rashi does it. Shishasar amu mechza the chotzad and lamed gimel the shura teula tash sach. If Ula's number is 768, b'shura demas nisin taslag, and the Mishnah, which we're dividing up the base saw into 3, that was giving us 833.33333. And Ula's number is 868. Then you're going to have another 68 square amos, the difference between 833 and 768. Okay. And Rashi says if you slice that up into strips, so Rashi's saying now you take the strip that you have that is 65 and you slice it in half and put them end to end. Now you have something that's a half amma wide, and now the length is 130. And I keep in the darn lama gimel. Okay, Samech Vav, Bereichav Chatzi Ama, Tim Chatz in the Mizrach, Chatz in the Meir, of Nimsa Makapibu, of like Diti Gamar Kolkach, Nakapag Amsa Daula, Be Eagle Kamar, Vila Be Eagle, Pesiach Laisav Alav, Nashli Shie, Amakotzad. Shemai Porta, Le Dok Kuli, Hi, Vistagarsi Posh, Le Tre Tilsi da Amsa. So Rashi's saying it's really 2/3 of an Amma because Ula's talking about a circle. And for that, the amount we could have added on would be an extra 2/3 of an amma, not just a half amma, but whatever, it all works out. And Hainu delay dog ula dav the memar shitzari upal go l'chomer lay dog vasu l'chomer of lay tzimtzim shiurai. What does this weird sign I have written in my Gemara mean? I'm not sure, but so now we're saying that Ula's number is very close to the real number, but Ula's number is a little bit off because he says 16 instead of 16 and a little bit more. And he's being machmir on you that you should consider it, that you should bring the bikurim, even if you're a little bit past 16 and be'etzem you wouldn't be mechuyev. Okay? So again, Akati, Pashlu, Palga the Amsa, you still have an extra half Amma, Hanu de Ledok, Ledok. Okay. Toshma, bring a raya, but to what? I'm not sure. Someone buys a tree and its land. Maybe you bring Bikurim and you recite the recitation. My love, wouldn't that be even a tiny amount of land? And that would show that you own the roots that go beyond your land. Why? Maybe no, maybe it's 16 amma. It's like Rashi. My love, nope. Tashma, if a guy buys 2 trees, maybe he's not going to be reciting recitation, but he should bring. Wouldn't that imply if he bought 3, then he would be maybe vikare? My love, koshu, even if there isn't so much. And what does that show? That's weird. Because why would 2 be different? Maybe like on a karka, if you sell trees without mentioning land, no land is being sold, and that's why he wouldn't be chayiv. You can't recite that it was given to me. Hagimel, the karka, maybe you would have to bring bikurim and say the recitation, even when he just buys 3 stam. And my love, wouldn't that be when he gets any karka at all? Okay. Toshma, 2 lines on the bottom, land, even the tiniest bit, if you have a tiny field on your tiny land, then leave a tiny corner. Bring some first fruits, because we love prosbol, and it's enough that if the who has to own it for prosbol? I think it's the one who owes. So Rashi bevido ilagasin le'masizim b'mesachas payadein videi b'maiser v'wein etoli b'karka prosbol tam b'mesachas gittin Hillel tikkun prosbol, right? The enactment to block Shemitah. Shirasha nimnu milahalvais from be'ashvias hamishametesh v'evim mashkasav v'shamal chapen yadavar v'gayim. Hillel saw people weren't lending money in Shemitah. Amad v'skin takana shlei tishamei. He worked out a way that Shemitah wouldn't annul debts. And the best, and the person who's owed money passes the debt on to the court. Because of Alei and Prosbol, What is the main body of a prosbul? Rashi says, I give over to you judges. Plenty in this place. Whatever debt is owed to me from that guy, I can collect it whenever I want because it's being owed through the best din now. It's no longer him demanding the debt. And he's not demanding his debt. It's from Bestin or Tzachlim or Bestin's Bestin that's being Teveya it. That's only done nowadays. Yipes. What happens when Shvius comes to Eraisa? Because we made it. For me, no, some guys in Brussels, ala karka, in like karka, live, like a swin on lead, about the shchichi. You must tell me that I'm saying, ala karka, live, and like taking it all prosper. So the one who is borrowing the money, if you want the debt to remain even after it hits, you need the borrower to own at least a tiny bit of land, but it could be really small. So if a guy's on a love prosbul, the and you can acquire along with it metaltalin. Way to acquire things that you can move around would be with a kinyan meshicha. Land is sold with money. But if the guy sold land and portable things together, once he does a ma'aser kinyan on the karka, either money star or chazaka, though, at least it said, and it sounds like it's talking about bikurim from a tree, even though it's karka kol shehu, and that would mean that the roots beyond it are not necessary for the tree, and they would not belong to the tree's owner, I would think. Which Gemara says, no, it's talking about wheat. Bikurim from wheat. And Dekanami, the Gemara says it also. You can see that that's what it is. That it's talking about a piece of land that's almost nothing at all. Shmamina, because you wouldn't really be able to have a tree in something which is barely anything. Toshma Elon, a tree. A tree which is partially in Israel and partially not. Teva v'chulim Rav Zeb Rebbe. Yipes. Rebbe says that it's a weird mix of things that need trumas and meisers taken and not. Rav Zeb Zesh ein semchanal b'reir l'chalkei l'chatzim v'lemer shletzad ha'aretz chayav and shletzad ha'chutz b'tur, and we're not going to divide the tree. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, and they're arguing on Rabbi is Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, who says it depends which side it's on. Hagadol b'chiyav chayav, hagadol b'tur patur. It depends which side it grows on. And Ad Kan Le'Pli Gemara says that what is a machlekes? Ela D'mar Sover Yesh Breira, Mar Sover Ein Breira. It's a question of Breira. We'll have to see how that fits. But if it grew from the potter side, everyone would agree that it is potter, and therefore you see that the roots don't mean very much. Okay, well, before we get to the answer. It sounds like everyone would agree that if all the roots were in Chutz La'aretz, so Machlekes Rebbe and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is braver. Whether you can say, I know these fruits are from here, these are from here, or just say it's a hujavaji mix-up because the roots are on both sides. But if the roots were all in Chutz La'aretz, it sounds like it would be Pashto, it would be Patra, even though the trees in Eretz Yisrael. It's talking about where there is rock dividing the tree's roots. The two sides of the tree are fundamentally divided. So what's the pshat in the opinion of Rebbe, who says that it's a hodgepodge? Because the Gemara says the Hadri Arvi, that they are remixing. It is one tree above. Then I'm going with the Bach here. Here's the machlekes. Mar savar avir mevalbel. Mar savar haluchudekai v'haluchudekai. Rebbe holds that when it's now that it's no longer subdivided as one trunk, it gets mixed around. And Shimon Gamliel says no, it's already separated by what was underground. Even though underground. Hey, Kishne Ilana, it's like two trees, but the channels are going to be mixed. That's Rebbe. As opposed to Mishim Gamil, who says no. Frek the Gemara, and this is. Let's see. It's only 16 amais? Question mark. Hey, Amma, state in Mishnah 25 Ammos, Amar Abaye, Mazel Tuva Asli. The roots go far. But, Akhushle Mechalei Makhashi Elad Sheshesrei Amma Trelei Makhashi. But it only needs 16 Ammos for its nutritional needs. Chafei Amma, Kashel Adam Rashi Shasar Amma Vesulai. You're not taking from his land. It's not taking anything from his land once you're past 16. Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel. Amar, he said, Rish Lakish had asked, a tree that's within 16 amas, what's the din? Amar, they said, God's an over That sounds a lot like Ula. But when Ravin came from Bavel, he said differently in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, not from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel. Side reason. It could be a tree right against the border. It could be a tree that's leaning over. You're always maybe v'karei because that's the way that the land was initially distributed. Someone asked, that was the original deal for dividing up the land. Okay. New Mishnah. We got two more Mishnahs till the parak ends. You have a tree which is leaning into someone else's field. You can cut out below a certain amount, meaning this is above ground, the stuff that he would be bumping his head on. And you can cut the full width, height of the Mardea, the cattle prod, above a plowshare. Mardea malman malamid bakar uvachar vuvishikma kanegana mishkailas. And if it's a carob tree or a sycamore, vertical chop once the tree's going over the fence. If it's a plumb line. Beis Hashlachin Kol Ilan Keneged Mishkailes, and if it's a if it is a tree, if it's a field that needs rainwater, then you can cut anything over it. If it's a field that needs rainwater, you can cut any tree that's leaning over. Bashal says if it's not a fruit tree, also whack straight down once it crosses the border. What's going on? He's going on the beginning of the end of the Mishnah. In other words, like Rashi Areisha Koi, the government and Kama Kite Sates Malay Mardeva, Ilan Srak, Chutbechar Vishikma, Vamalay Abishol, Ilan Srak Namik and Egan Mishkailas. Is it going on the ratio where Tanakama says that you cut only Malay Mardea? And Tanakama is saying that even by a non-fruiting tree, and Abishol is coming to say no, even if it is, if it's an Ilan Srak, then you're going to do the slice. Oh yeah, Seifa Kai to come Tanakama. The Tanakama had said, based on Shlachan, if it's a field that needs rainwater, Kol Ilan Kenegad Mishkai. So I feel Ilan is a Perez, and the Tanakama is saying then that even a fruit tree, you're going to do the slice. No, Kol Ilan Sraku, Dikanegad Mishkai less. Aval Ilan is a Perez. Nami Mardea Visulai, but if it's a fruiting tree, it's so is Abishol Kula Chomer? If he's going on the beginning of the Mishnah, and well, there's no real Kula Chomer did Imam in the end of this Masechta, but it's Abishol coming. If it's going in the beginning of the Mishnah, Abishol is saying, "Ha ha!" Not just carobs and sycamores, but any non-fruiting trees can get mushkalas. Or is it saying on Beis Hashlachan, where the Tanakhama says Beis Hashlachan thwack anything, even a fruit tree? And Abishol is like, no, only Nilan Sirak. Toshma de Tanya, Beis Hashlachan, Abba Sholem Kola Ilan, Ganegan Amishkailas, Mipnei Shatzel Rala Beis Hashlachan. If it's a Beis Hashlachan, any tree gets the slice, even a fruiting tree. Kola Ilan, nice. Shmamina Reishakai Shmamina. It's alright that it's going on the Abishol is going on the beginning of the Mishnah because he's definitely not limiting the end because he says if it's a field that needs rain, thwack, vertical cut, plumb line cut, even if it's a fruiting tree. So what's he saying about Kol Ilan Srak? That's on the ratio when it's not a Beis Hashlachan. Oh, not that yet. Rav Ashi says you can see it in our Mishnah. The Tani call Ilan Srak, any Ilan Srak. It sounds like he's adding something. If he's going on the beginning of the Mishnah, and the Tani call Ilan, it's not just the Char V'Shikma, it's any tree. If he's going on the end of the Mishnah, Elon Srak Mibarle, he should have just said Elon Srak, not call Elon Srak, because if he's going on the end of the Mishnah, he's limiting things to Elon Srak. My call, he'll agree us all Elon Srak. Well, yeah, but you're limiting the din. Before we thought the din was even fruit trees. One more Mishnah. If you have a tree leaning out into the Rishos Harabim, that you can really chop. Enough to allow a camel and its rider. Pretty high. A camel loaded up with flax or bundles of vines. And Rabbi Shimon says, whack any tree vertically plumb line because of Toma, it leaning over Toma. What's the source of these Mishnayos that are going by here and now assumptions? they're going to grow back, but still only deal with what's there now. So Montana, who is this Mishnah rabbi, that he's okay going with just the here and now, even though it's going to come back again. Reish Lakish says the machlekes nuya Rabbi Eliezer. It's an ongoing machlekes, and our Mishnah is Rabbi Eliezer's side of things. It's not in chalal tachas shesarabim. You can't make a hole under a public area, public thoroughfare, or or wells or dugouts or anything like that. Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Eliezer permits it if a wagon full of rocks will be able to drive over it without a cave-in. So Rashi Golem Alachas Tikrasa Chazaka Kolkach Mutrafal Gav Shesaifa Shetasliya V'Sipach, even though it's going to eventually cave in. So this is Reish Lakish, right? Reish Lakish says that our Mishnah is taking the side of Rabbi Eliezer, that even though it's going to cave in eventually, it's okay right now. Rabbi Yechanan Amar Rabbanan. Our Mishnah can even be the Chachamim who say that you can't have any hole underground, even if it's super strong. But that can even work with our Mishnah that you deal with the here and now. Because by a hole underground, it could be that it's getting weaker and nobody realizes it until it caves in. But branches are very obvious and people can cut them as it comes up. No. Rabbi Yehuda Eimer Gam Alton Pishtan Chavilis Mercy by Lo Shur Rabbi Yehuda Nafish Ekdel Mashur Derabanan Nafish. Whose amount is bigger, the camel and its rider, or the camel that's loaded up with stuff? Pshita Deshur Derabanan Nafish, where it says obvious that the Chachamim's amount is bigger, the person. These Hakadai Dachshur Rabbi Yehuda Nafish, Rabbi Yehuda's man is larger. Rabbanan Mashur Rabbi Yehuda Echiavde. It's got to be that Rabbi Yehuda's loaded camel is a bigger amount, or else what are the Rabbanan going to say to do when there's a loaded camel? Velamai Shura the Rabbanan Nafish. The Gemara says right back, what? You're going to say that the Chachamim share is bigger, and that of a person. Rabbi Yehuda B'Shur the Rabbanan Ma'avid. What's Rabbi Yehuda going to do with a person riding there? Who's going to say you can bend over. You can't really bend over the burden of stuff. So Rabbi Yehuda says if it has to be a camel loaded up with stuff, a person is taller than that, but a person could bend. In the Chachamim, if you're going to say that their amount about a rider is smaller, what are you going to do when the loaded camel comes? Period. Mishnah continues. Rabbi Shimon says, every tree gets chopped, every tree sticking out into the Shasravim, do a plumb line vertical straight cut. Tana, it was taught because of Oel Atoma being under the same rooftop as Toma. Pshita, the Gemara asks. Well, of course it's Mipnei Ayel HaToma, the tent of Toma. But maybe HaToma it's not. Mishnah already says because of Toma. No. If it's from our Mishnah, Hava Amina, I might have thought that the reason is because Dilma might see Erev Toma, because a raven might come because of the tree, and he might be carrying something that's Tameh. Vishadi Hasam, and he might end up leaving the Toma thing there. Uvedichluli Be'alma Sagya, and it would be enough to do. We'll see what that means. Dechluli, and that would be enough to take care of the problem. Mashmalon. That nope, it's because of Ayla Toma, and you got to do the slice. Sagt Rashi, if the Oila Toma Shemipol, because I smaze it's Leilon very one of him. Amarubim, Ma'ahilin, a love Olivia Drachim of Himalayam, as a Toma, Shadi Asam Alilon, section off of Rabim, a Toma made a Sham, and I fell stars, and the other Mavrim Tachta, Viloi, Khashina, and Elochi, but Khliba Almasagi, Laylock, it's Achad me being time, Gilahik, Aver being name, Laytam, Chum Toma. If the Khashash is that an animal might, I said that would end up throwing it on the ground, but then it would be visible. That would not be considered such a problem, I guess. But the problem is that I might leave it on the top of branches, which you could deal with by thinning the upper branches, but thinning them is not going to help for Oila Toma, and that's the chiddush of the brisa of Oila Toma, that it is what's it called, Dechluli, is not going to be enough. Even a single branch is a problem. Hadron aloch leyachbar, hadron aloch leyachbar. Chezkas habatim v'abayris v'ashichen v'ma'aris v'ashevachis v'machatzayis v'yisabal v'yisashachem v'avadim v'kol davar shvei seperes tader chezkas and shalei shonim miyayim liyayim. Shma. To be continued. Mitzvah Hashem.